Okay, so I'm having my internet installed in my house in California. They're supposed to come between 12 and 2. I get a call at 9 a.m. Hey, I'm here. I'm just a little bit early. A little bit early. Toto, we're no longer in Kansas. When has anyone ever showed up 3 hours early to an appointment?
It's just as rude as being late.
I agree, but he was like, do you mind if I come by? Yes, sir. I'm in my panties noting this episode. No, you can't come by and install my internet.
It's always rude to come early in every situation.
Rick, roll the music. Roll the goddamn music, Rick. Jesus Lord. Can't have nothing nice.
Any situation. It's just as rude to be that early as it is to be late. Welcome, everyone, to I Think Not, the podcast where we can pretty much turn anything into a sexual innuendo.
And that's cats.
That's cats. I am your host, Ellen Marsh, and across from me is my former best friend,
Nice.
who has chosen to abandon me to fly all the way across the country, and he's somehow stupider and uglier, and that is Joseph Taranto.
How long are we going to keep doing this? I just need to know. I need a time frame.
I don't need to give you a time frame. I'm a woman. I can be horrible at any time and blame it on my hormones. Wait, actually, speaking of hormones, I texted Joey this morning. I'm going to read it word for word. I texted him, I'm sad this morning, and he texted me back 3 hours later and said, hi, why are you sad? I said, I just seriously woke up and realized you're seriously, really, real gone. I cried this morning. I also got my period, but I cried nonetheless.
I sent you a lovely voice note.
I haven't listened to it yet. I don't want to cry. No, everyone, this is I Think Not, the podcast where we recap your true crime TV shows, and we also shove our real feelings way down deep where no one can find them. We are in the middle of giving you Mean Girl Murders this month, and if you want to catch us on the Patreon, Joey just wrote a Tony Award-winning adjacent song to the Tony Award-winning musical Book of Mormon, because over there we are covering Worst Roommate Ever on Netflix, but our true crime adjacent show, until we run out of episodes, is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Turns out they've got lots of secrets.
So many secrets. So if you want more of us, head on over to patreon.com/IThinkNot. But honestly, just go and listen to Joey's song. It's so brilliant. You did such a good job on that, my love.
Thank you, baby. I literally turned into Gilbert the Goblin doing this because I was like, I will write music. I will destroy Broadway with filthy lyrics. Like, I think I just need to keep doing this.
I'm here for it. I never let a hyperfixation get in the way of actual things we really have to do.
Right.
Speaking of hyperfixation and things we have to do, we have to get to this episode, my love.
Let's do it, babe.
We are doing Mean Girl Murders, Season 1, Episode 3, Goth Girl Gone. What a title.
Well, something you all know about me is that I have the exterior of a golden retriever, but the heart of a black cat. Yes, I am a goth girl at heart, and I'd like to sing about it, and you have to listen. I like black things, I like mood rings, and my two eyeballs look like two black holes. They represent my resentment that I must suffer through being around people. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is to be a goth girl. Make you wonder just what I've suffered. I'm goth, I'm fucking goth. I'm goth. Let's go paint something black. Also, I'm not making fun of goth culture because I love it.
No, I get it. Look at my freaking house. I've always been like this. I went through like an indie kid, but I never did the goth. Listen, I have such respect for the bit. The makeup, the jewelry, like, it is a commitment. I respect it. I knew a girl in high school. Her name was Marguerite, and her purse, it was like a coffin. And she carried like a little... I was like, I applaud the commitment to the bit. Her nails were like filed as little daggers.
Yeah.
She was the sweetest thing. She was such a good artist. She was the best artist in the school. She just had a commitment to the bit.
Listen, and it also takes a certain amount of bravery, especially in high school, because wherever you go, people are looking at you. And speaking of high school, today's case takes place in September of 2003 in Redlands, California. And right out of the gate, Amanda Sandhurst tells us, yeah, Redlands sucks. That's the end. Thank you for coming. Full stop.
Yeah, it's really conservative. They're known for having a lot of churches. Boring as fuck.
There was definitely a big separation of the jocks and maybe the stoner kids and the artsy kids and the nerdy kids.
Isn't that all high schools?
No, it's every school. Like goes with like, you know, the jocks, the preps. But, you know, everyone knows where they fit in. But here's the thing. The minute you set foot in college, everything changes. That is only a high school thing. I mean, you know, it's kind of like bleeds out into life, but it's not so clear cut ever again in your life. I tell Lola that all the time. I'm like, this isn't forever, you know?
But when you're in high school, you can't receive that. Also, my high school, I graduated with 19 people. There were no cliques. It was like, I got to see your face every day, all day, and I'm stuck with you.
That is so crazy.
I know.
That is really hard to wrap my mind around.
Mine too. Well, Redlands may be conservative, but that was not going to stop an edgier clique from emerging. One that I would like to think that I'd have been brave enough to join.
And then there was a separate crowd of the goth kids. That was their time to be different.
But a lot of us had a gothic look or like a punk look or a metalhead look.
You know that also, speaking of goth, we had a lot of goth kids at Emerson because do you know Emerson was known as the college for freaks and misfits?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And I was like, perfect, my people. I don't know which one I fit in, but I think a little bit of both. We had so many goth kids at Emerson. But you know what? The goth kids were always sort of misunderstood, but they were always so good at whatever they did. Because, you know, like writers, musicians, there was one guy that played guitar, artists, like... Again, the commitment to the bit, they also had a commitment to their craft.
I love it. I could go on and on. I wish I would have been braver in high school and showed up, you know, like Marilyn Manson. Well, Marilyn Manson in the 90s, not Marilyn Manson now. Anyway, okay, for another podcast. Well, Andy McDermott, who's here, was class of 2001. And basically she tells us that this group of goths was way more inclusive because if you were lost, the goths were like, yes, come to me. We can make space for you. Enter Kelly Bullwinkle. She entered Redlands East Valley High School at 14. She was a big personality, but she was also very analytical. She was emo. She loved to write, which she was really good at. And Rob McDermott, there's so many talking heads on this show.
A lot of talking heads.
They literally were like, line up the 4-H club. Anybody who wants to talk and give us their thoughts and opinions, we're here for it. Anyway, Rob says that Kelly's mom was single. Well, she was a single working mother in the Coast Guard, which meant Kelly was alone a lot. So as a freshman, she was finding her way as all freshmen do, you know?
Well, she transferred as a freshman, which being a freshman is hard enough, but transferring school, I would honestly rather eat cigarette butts for breakfast than transfer as a freshman. It's already so hard.
Yeah.
So I transferred from the good school to the preppy school junior year. By that time, these kids had all been in school together since kindergarten.
Right.
So they were actually craving a familiar face. And they're like, oh my God, weird loudmouth, come sit by us. Because everyone was so bored with their fucking lives. And like, I was sort of like the novelty. But freshman year?
Yeah.
No way. You couldn't pay me enough money. That's so hard.
Did you form your own Spice Girls group at this high school? Because I know you were obsessed with them in high school.
Okay. Well, maybe I did a tribute band for the talent show, and it was the best thing that Northern California's ever seen. What of it?
What Spice would you be?
Oh, I was absolutely Sporty Spice.
No. I mean, if you could be your own Spice.
Oh, problematic, but has a good heart Spice.
It's kind of a long title, but you know what?
It fits on a marquee.
I was going to say, how does this look on merch? Yeah.
What's your Spice, baby?
No, thank you, Spice.
That's so perfect.
That would just be it. We've got ginger, we've got sporty, we've got scary, we've got baby, we've got posh, and we've got no thank you.
No, thank you. That tracks So hard. So junior year, Kelly met a new friend, a girl by the name of Kinsey Nordman. And Kinsey was actually a senior, and she was, she was goth. She was queer. She was really sort of out there and outgoing.
Known as a leader, Kinsey launched the school's Friends of Lesbians and Gays Club, also known as FLAG.
She had a very, very good self-esteem.
You know one of my favorite monologues of all?
Are you going to reference Reality Bites?
Yes?
Because that's exactly, my God, we're too similar. It's exactly where my brain went. Rick, roll it.
Is there a support group that I can join to help me come to terms with my own homophobia?
Yes, there is. A group which is named P-Flag, parents and friends of lesbians and gays.
Okay, I would like to make you feel old in 2 ways. I don't know which is going to hurt more.
Okay.
Number 1, that movie was from 1994. Yep. Number 2, Eminem just became a granddad. I want to walk into the ocean with rocks in my pockets. He's a granddad.
Okay, calm down, Virginia Woolf. No, we're not doing that today. But here's the thing that dawned on me was that to start a club like that in high school in the early aughts and in a conservative town,
oh, totally.
that takes balls. Now, both Kinsey and Kelly were both bisexual, and friend Amanda says, I think Kelly aspired to be as out and unapologetic as Kinsey was. I mean, again, like, that takes bravery. And I'm going to say something that's like a little bit of a hot take.
Okay.
I think in 2001, to be openly bisexual as a woman would be a lot easier than to be openly bisexual as a guy.
I have a hotter take.
Yeah, tell me.
I don't think much has changed.
Really?
I don't know. I don't want to speak on behalf of any demographic, but I know it's very hard to be bisexual. I know that there's like, what is it called? Bisexual.
Oh, you mean specifically bisexuality, not like just either gay or whatever. I see what you're saying.
Like queer. No, I think what is it called? Biphobia? Yeah. I think it affects queer men more than queer women. That's totally a sweeping statement, and I accept being wrong because I don't want to represent anything, but I don't know. Don't you think?
Well, it's funny because I am, again, rewatching Sex and the City, and there's that whole episode where Carrie dates a bisexual guy, and it's a thing. And one of the jokes they make, she's like, I don't know if I believe in bisexuality. Isn't that just a stop over to Ricky Martinville? And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That joke would not land. Yeah, I mean, it is weird. And even within the gay community, there are people who are like, no, bisexuality does not exist. Where I'm like, I'm here to tell you, it absolutely does.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend, female friend who's bisexual, and I'm like, well, you're so accepted. She's like, girl, no, I'm not. I was like, oh, sorry. I didn't mean, but yeah, no, I get it. So I totally agree. At that time, I feel like that was a very forward way of being.
Completing this cool alterna clique is junior Elodie Romero.
She was kind of more quiet and maybe standoffish too. Elodie was maybe intimidating.
I actually agree with that statement. Sometimes I find quiet, more reserved people way more intimidating, like that sort of quiet confidence. And some people think that like loud people like me and you are more intimidating. I think the quiet ones are terrifying.
Let me tell you something. I am not good at nuance. I'm not good at subtlety. I'm not good at mystery.
What? Who told you that? That is not true.
I'm like, listen, I am not Miss Cleo. I cannot pull out a magic ball and read your mind. What's going on in there? Do you like me or do you hate me? Like, especially with guys, I put it all out there. There's a guy that I was hanging out with in New York, and he's like, I'm not used to being around people like you. He's like, I'm a dancer. I come from the ballet world. There's a lot of competition. I hold my cards very close to my chest. Mm-hmm. And I don't give any extra information unless I'm specifically asked. And I was like, what's it like to be like that?
What's it that like to not say every thought that comes into your head? That's wow. You're going to teach me that sometimes.
Now, there was also a guy in this friend group too, and he was a senior named Damian Guerrero. And he was giving you The Crow, honey. Remember that movie, The Crow?
Absolutely.
Dressed in all black nails, slicked hair, and he was intimidating. But he was also simultaneously charismatic or giving you the riz, as the kids say these days.
Don't. You're honestly.
Don't say cringe.
Rick, don't say riz. Don't say riz. We're going to be, if anyone's kids hear that, they're going to send letters. Like, they're going to go old school and actually write letters and put a stamp on it. That's how awful it is.
Listen, no cap, kids. He had the riz. Full stop. For shizzy. I don't know. Okay, I'm doing my best, all right? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Also,
did I tell you what the Trader Joe's lady said to me yesterday?
What?
She was saying, oh, how's your day? And I said something. I was like, oh, I forgot this. And, the Trader Joe's people ask too many questions. And I don't even remember what I said. And she goes, well, you're trying your best.
She was also like, I was hoping a nice I'm fine would suffice.
You're absolutely right. It was totally my fault. I deserved that. Okay. Thanks, Gretchen. Give me my fucking cauliflower calamari and let me go.
How was your day at work, honey? I asked this woman how she was. All of a sudden, she was doing EDMR with frozen peas in front of me. I was like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so
oh, gosh.
I think another thing that folks saw Damian as was like an intellectual.
He would quote philosophy. He would make himself sound highly intelligent.
He had this smugness to him, like humans were scum and, maybe he was better than that.
I find a lot of teenage boys to be smug.
Yeah, and stinky. They're smug and swampy.
So Damian and Elodie were dating, right? And I'm sure together they were serving coont. Coont. K-O-O-N-T. Coont.
Yeah.
And I mean that literally. They were in a rocky relationship. Lots of highs and lots of lows. That doesn't sound fun, but it also sounds like high school.
It was very high school. So Kelly and Kinsey were really close, and Kinsey and Damian were really close. They weren't dating. It was 2001 through 2002, the school year, and the four of them had this, goth, queer, bestie clique gang going on. They were super happy, whatever. Now, in 2002, Kinsey and Damian graduated, and they went to the local community college, but they still totally hung around. They all remained friends. Fast forward, now it's Kelly's turn to graduate, and she actually brought Kinsey to her senior prom. They weren't dating, and they definitely weren't a couple, but they made out on the dance floor, and they were sort of thinking that this was sort of to get attention kind of thing, or maybe they just wanted to kiss a little. Who cares? They were just kind of fuck you, I'm a senior, I'm queer, bye.
I think they were trying to make a statement, and maybe as they left, they were like,
wow, it worked. I really did make a splash.
So Kelly and Elodie, Damian's girlfriend, they graduate, right? And that summer, it seems like Kelly really began to move on from that friend group, which does happen,
Totally. Mm-hmm.
And so by the time fall arrives, Kelly starts a community college, and she also got a fast food job at a place called Baker's. Do you know Baker's?
No, this is in Southern California, so I don't know any of these references.
It seemed like Kelly had a good group of friends, or at least a few friends that she was really close to.
One of those new friends is 19-year-old Cassandra Ontiveros.
Honey, these eyebrows.
Pause. Give me adjectives to describe these eyebrows. Go.
Sculpted.
Thin.
Villainesque.
Unacceptable.
Not right.
Tattooed? You have to add the question mark. Tattooed?
Dramatic.
Kelly Taylor.
Drew Barrymore.
These eyebrows, as soon as they came on the screen, I went,
Oh, honey, they were, no lie, drawn on like fucking Ursula the Sea Witch performing at a drag show under the sea.
Yeah, they're intrusive.
So that brings us to September 13th, 2003.
Kelly and Cassandra were work pals, right? They went out every once in a while, here or there after work. But on this particular night, Kelly had plans to go out with her friend Amy, who was going to bring along some guy that she wanted her to meet. And this guy was a little punkish, but very sweet. Now, Amy is here. She is one of the dozen talking heads that are here. And she was like, well, we were actually late that night, and it was totally our fault. We went to go meet Kelly, and I guess Kelly had already left, and she didn't think much about it. She's like, honestly, I would have done the same thing. We were late. It was totally our fault. And so then, they go out and do their thing. A couple days pass. She hasn't heard back from Kelly at all. And so people had reached out to Amy and basically asked, have you seen Kelly? She's like, no, actually, We were supposed to meet the other night. Maybe she's like pissed because she thinks we flaked. We didn't flake. We were just late.
Well, then Amy finds out Kelly stopped showing up for work. And, people are like, have you heard from her? We don't know where she is. And Amy is thinking, fuck, something is off because I never see her on AOL anymore, and she's always on AOL. And I was like, I know that this is a serious thing about someone disappearing, but also LOL, AOL. Welcome. You are gay. Like, I used AOL to be diggy doing in the gayest ways.
Gather around the campfire, children. AOL was the way that Joey was nasty in the aughts. End of explanation. What was your AOL username?
I'm really embarrassed to say this.
What?
I really liked the Batman movie with Uma Thurman in it as Poison Ivy. It was Poison Ivy 80.
Okay.
What was yours?
I'm not going to say.
Say it. I said mine.
EMM 24601. Anyway.
Is that a Les Mis reference?
No. No, it's my locker combination.
Nice.
Well, I have never claimed to be anything that I already am, and that is a theater nerd. I've never lied to the people.
Okay, so back to this situation. More and more of Kelly's friends are wondering where she is, and Amy is like, fuck, something is going on. I'm telling y'all, listen to your gut. I don't care if someone calls me crazy. I don't care if someone tells me I'm being unhinged. Your gut never lies because you know your friends, you know their ways, you know how this goes.
When Kelly Bullwinkle's housemate Laura returns after 5 days out of town, she is rattled by what she finds.
She noticed that the pets had not been fed.
Roommate Laura was like, this is not Kelly. Something is very wrong. The answering machine, remember answering machines? Had not been checked.
Yeah, and one of the messages were from the manager at Baker's. Now, Kelly was a great employee, so the manager was like, hey, you missed a shift. Now you've missed 2 shifts. Is everything okay? So now we're getting more and more information. It clearly shows that she hasn't been home. She's missed work, which is totally out of her character. No one is mad at her. Everyone is legitimately concerned because all of these behaviors are totally out of Kelly's character.
Yeah. Roommate Laura calls Kelly's mom, Diana. And it's so funny because I'm thinking at this age, you still think of yourself as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, Kelly was 18 at the time, thinking about dealing with, life situations where you have to call your roommate/best friend's mother and say, your daughter's missing. And remember, Kelly's mom, Diana, she's in the Coast Guard. She's on a Coast Guard ship. And so Mama Diana was like, fuck that, I'll be right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Laura, who was their roommate, now remember, Laura was their roommate when they originally moved to this area. I feel like Laura was sort of like a best friend. And it's not that Kelly needed a babysitter, but it probably made Mama Diana feel better knowing that there was a quote adult there, even though Kelly was a technical adult. Right. So I get that. So they don't say this, but I assume Laura is a little bit more like family. Well, whatever she is, she's a down bitch. She went to the police, and the police were like, we are on it. And they immediately come and search the house.
Police located a pocket knife. There were some notes that suggested she may have been depressed.
Could she have taken her life? That's one of the factors that you have to consider.
I don't want to diminish those accusations or anything, but they say it wasn't quote, that bad. I'm glad they didn't stop there is what I'm saying. I'm glad they weren't oh, she's just a depressed kid, because we all get dark. We all get depressed. We all get sad. So I'm not diminishing that. I'm just saying I'm so glad they didn't stop there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, everyone deals with depression. I'm sure Lea Salonga, who has the most beautiful voice in all of the universe, sometimes wakes up and is like, things are dark. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Everybody has those days. That theory was quickly debunked because that same evening, the police find Kelly's car abandoned at the local mall. So attorney Brent Romney says that that was the moment when people started to freak out. And I would imagine so, because you can make a lot of excuses for why someone might be gone for a couple days, but it's very hard to deny the fact that finding a missing person's car abandoned, there's a lot of potential for danger there,
Yeah. Well, they look in the car, and there's absolutely nothing that indicates a form of a struggle that occurred in the car. There's no blood. There's no real concerning fingerprints. So they were like, did she run away? Did she need some time to think? They're hoping that nothing bad happened. But her friends are like in the background being like, I feel like she was kidnapped. Then her friend Rob says this.
I just knew when I started hearing about it, I remember thinking in my heart, man, she's not going to be alive.
Okay, Rob, you are not allowed on any more documentaries. That is dork. No, you're not allowed to talk. You're not, no more talking head for you, Rob.
Yeah, Rob is the Debbie Downer of this episode. It's like, Rob showing up is like, well, it's official. I can't have children. Okay, all right, buddy, calm down.
Rob, we're trying to build some suspense here. The show is already called Mean Girl Murders. Can you just pump the brakes a little bit, sir?
Yeah, it's a little early. So was she kidnapped? Investigators start talking to everyone, and they start with Kelly's friend Amy, who had made plans with her to, meet that punk rocker.
So Amy tells the same story. She's like, we had plans. I was totally late. I didn't think anything of it. And none of her other friends had heard from her or really know what's going on. But every friend sort of said the same thing. Has anyone talked to Kinsey Nordman? Because they weren't particularly close now, but they used to be BFF. And so everyone was like, no, you want to talk to Kinsey. So they finally get a hold of Kinsey. And she's like, actually, I had plans to hang out with Kelly. And I never heard back from her either. So I just made plans with Damian that night, the night she went missing. And she said, we went out to dinner and a movie. Here's our receipts. That's it. I mean, nobody. It's always like me whenever I tell you something. And you're like, I believe you. Why are you said it? And I'm not acting weird. I'm just like traumatized and come from.
I know, baby. Honey, I know. And that's why I'm always like, sweetie, I love you. You don't have to pull out a whiteboard and write down all the reasons why you did what you did and the reasons why you didn't do what you didn't do.
I was like, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. The reason is, and I pull up a murder board. He's like, okay, babe, we'll be 10 minutes late. But it's weird when they do that. Rather than just being like, we went to dinner and a movie, they offered up their receipts. Did you think that was super weird? You all, we just had to take a break in our recording because Joey had to take a call. Show him, Parker.
Yep. Yeah, you can knock on the door.
Yeah, we are recording, but
all
this
right,
bitch
thank
is
you.
on the phone. So rude. Now he's texting. So yes, we are recording.
Getting the internet set up in Los Angeles is a thing and a thing. Okay, you think I was running for Congress? Well, to answer your question, yes, it is weird. It's like, cool. Why are you so prepared for these questions? So
yeah, very strange.
But here's the thing. Kinsey was like, I am very worried about my friend. And she seemed visibly upset, right? So they're like, okay, all right, I got it. I get it.
Kinsey just wanted to support Kelly's mom during the time she was missing. She went to go see Kelly's mom, Diana, and started a search party.
Kinsey was like a natural-born leader, and she helped Diana in whatever way she could. She was an active participant in the search for Kelly, but soon the search would end.
Soon the search would end.
I know. I really set that up hard. I'm sorry.
What? We know. Babe, it's true crime. Sue, what are you right? Are you secretly writing for a true crime show?
I know.
But
I really do sound like
the search would end. She loved the theater, but soon she'd take her final bow.
I know.
What are we doing? Who are you? So now it's October 3rd, 2003. Kelly has been missing for 3 weeks. But on this day, there's a bunch of kids out in this place called Ghost Town, and they're playing, a paintball game. No, thank you. I don't need to play in any town that is called Ghost Town. I don't want to play with ghosts. I don't want to talk to ghosts. I don't want to go to the town with the ghosts. Why are you all playing in a place called Ghost Town?
Well, Ghost Town was a secluded spot in a wooded area where kids would go to like party and do drugs and apparently shoot each other with paintballs. What is this? 10 Things I Hate About You? And so while they're playing paintball, these 3 teenagers smell something that is very pungent and unfamiliar. And as they investigated the stench, they found a foot that was poking out of a shallow grave.
And over this sort of weird area, there was a bunch of like furniture and debris, all meant to conceal, of course, what we all know is gonna be a body. So they call the police and they determine that it is the body of a young female. And around the area, they also found a shovel and a .25 caliber bullet casing. And the police, of course, you don't want to say the thing, right? But they had a feeling it was Kelly. And upon further investigation, sadly, it was the body of Kelly Bullwinkle.
Yeah, she was wearing the same outfit that she had on the night she disappeared. So that means she did die September 13th. She had been shot twice. One bullet grazed her, and the second one was a fatal shot to the head. So this is the worst possible outcome, and all of her friends and family are devastated.
Kelly's memorial service was pretty large. It was a big turnout.
They had huge portraits of Kelly, a slideshow, and it was really nice.
It was a beautiful tribute. We see some pictures. It was gorgeous. Everyone was there, including Kinsey, who was visibly shaken, visibly upset and distraught. Everyone could see her pain. Of course she was. They were best friends. Elodie and Damian were also there. They were sitting together, and they had lost contact recently, but there didn't really appear to be any bad blood. Of course you would go and pay your last respects.
Yeah. Well, now investigators are working around the clock to solve this case. They interview all of Kelly's friends, including Kinsey. And Kinsey provides the police with a lead. She tells them about two men, Eric McLaughlin and Michael McMillan.
Now, those two men were directly connected to tragic eyebrow Cassandra. Now, remember, Kelly and Cassandra worked at Baker's, that fast food place. Eric was Cassandra's boyfriend, and Mike McMillan was Cassandra's cousin. They were all like, maybe gonna hook up or hang out or whatever. But these two men, Eric and Mike, both had priors, and they were both arrested after Kelly went missing for car theft, so it was really easy to find them and ask them some questions.
Yeah. So Kinsey says that Kelly told her, Michael and Eric really weird me out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, police check the apartments that these two men shared, and they find a T-shirt covered in blood and newspaper clippings about Kelly's disappearance. Holy shit.
Yeah. Why would they be so invested in the newspaper information about Kelly if they weren't directly involved in some way? So now the police are like, we're going to talk to these guys. So we see this police interrogation. We see Eric and Cassandra in their interview. Of course, they split them up. Mike is in another room. Now, we see this video of Cassandra. She's in another chair next to her boyfriend, Eric, but she is literally laying her head down in his lap. Ma'am, you are in a police interrogation. Sit the fuck up. Someone has died. That infuriated me more than I was just like, are you even taking this seriously?
I was so confused because she's all over him like a freaking Cheshire cat.
Yeah.
And she's also doing that thing that I hate. She's like, well, we are, baby, I'll answer for, like that whole thing. I'm like, are you okay? What is happening?
It was so inappropriate. Maybe she was high on something I actually didn't think about until you just explained it.
Yeah.
I just felt it was inappropriate because we're here talking about a murdered girl, and you're like playing cuddle nubbies in the corner.
She looks like she's at after hours on her third tab of ecstasy.
It's really true. It was so infuriating. So we hear Detective John Warren say this.
What did Mike tell you?
He said that he wanted to rob her.
What did Mike tell you, Cassandra, about her whereabouts?
He didn't tell me where she was. He just said that he shot her.
And then Eric says this.
Yeah, he's able to convince people that he's some big old hard gangster that just gets away with all kinds of crimes. And if he did do it, he was trying to do it to kind of prove that,
So now investigators are like, well, let's go talk to Michael. He's in the next room. And when they speak to him, he's like, I didn't shoot Kelly. I was just joking about it. And I have an alibi. That's a weird thing to joke about, and we both should be
Right?
laughing because I'm not laughing. Like, I never understand that. I mean, this is not the first time we've heard about someone taking responsibility for someone else's murder, even though they did not commit the murder. It's very weird.
Yeah, not to quote Ellen DeGeneres, because she's currently a bit problematic. Well, but then you don't know how joking works.
No, you don't.
Because that's not funny.
No, it's not at all. But here's the thing. Police get both Eric and Cassandra's alibis and Michael's. Everyone's alibis checks out. So now Kelly's high school friend Amanda, who told us at the top of this episode about how much she hates Redwood, California.
Yeah.
Tells the police, wait a minute. I just remembered a chat I had with Kelly a few months ago. Kelly told Amanda that she had a boyfriend. And when Amanda asked who it was, she said Damian. Now remember, Damian and Elodie have been together for a long time, even though their relationship is very rocky. And Amanda was shocked by this news because she thought that Damian and Elodie were still together. And that means that perhaps Kelly was the side girlfriend. And she's like, I want more for you than that.
Well, she goes on to explain a little bit more, and I have seen this dynamic play out. Basically, Amanda was like, what's so weird about Kelly saying that she was sort of dating Damian on the down low was that when they were out, Damian was outright rude to Kelly. Like verbally abusive rude.
Yeah.
And then he would like call Kelly and be like, I'm kidding. I didn't want to make Elodie jealous. And then Kelly would be like, okay. And just sort of like take him back. So Amanda was very confused by that dynamic. I've seen it happen. And if I'm being honest, I've probably been a part of it.
Sure. Yeah, probably same. I mean, the other thing about this, too, is Damian was the first guy that Kelly was into. And she even journaled about wanting to lose her virginity to him. And the problem is that Elodie was very suspicious. And basically, she did not want Kelly around. She didn't want Kelly around her. She didn't want Kelly around Damian. And now everyone in this Goth clique started talking. And it resulted in the group sort of ousting Kelly the summer before she disappeared. Elodie was very persuasive. Kinsey got word of it, and she was not happy. And Kinsey was basically the one who was like, oh, she's got to go. So when it came time for Kelly's 18th birthday, Amy, who was going to set Kelly up with the punk rocker the night she disappeared, and then Kinsey and Damian all went to see a movie that was way out of town.
We rode to a movie theater that was like 30 miles away. The entire time they were being really mean to Kelly. It was her birthday and they were picking on her. They were calling her names.
These are her, quote, best friends. And I say that with a very intentful question mark. Kelly was a very sweet girl, and she took it. Now, have you ever been a part, Joey, of like a dynamic like that? Because I definitely know I have, where romantic or friend-wise, you feel people being meaner, so you actually lean in more because you're like, oh, I'm not being nice enough, or I'm not doing this, and then that makes them be even meaner to you. I did that like in middle school with a group of like girls. Like I wanted them so bad to like me. And they were clearly sending a signal that they did not want to be my friends. So that made me lean in more. Have you ever done that before?
I have not done that, actually. I was just like, nope.
You're a stronger person than me.
Well, no, I didn't say that. But you know what I have seen in friend groups that I was a part of where I had a friend, Christy, who is the sweetest. And people took advantage of her. And they sort of treated her like a doormat. And I always said to our other friend, Erin, I'm like, she's going to blow her top one day. And I used to say to her, I'm like, you can say no. It's okay to say no. You don't have to like take care of everyone and give everyone a ride and go pick up food. You don't have to do that. When I tell you that the night happened where we were all drunk, and I don't even remember the situation, but she went down the line on a sectional sofa and cursed every one of those motherfuckers out and told them why they were garbage. And I literally was like,
yeah, that's the Kelly. I have been the Kelly before. It is her birthday, and she was taking it. Now, she didn't know this whole time behind her back. These three, Damian, Elodie, and Kinsey, had made a group decision to make a concerted effort to be mad at Kelly. They were going to ostracize Kelly, but they were going to do it slow and methodically, and they were just going to like emotionally torture her. They made that decision, and Kelly is just taking it. She's leaning in. It's heartbreaking.
I remember they invited her to a party in a mountain house and she drove there. They didn't open the door. but she can hear laughter. She was kind of in disbelief that they would do that to her, and she had no idea why.
She was very upset. And the truth is investigators discovered email correspondence where Elodie went in on Kelly. But Kelly also responded. She was a bit sassy, and she's like, look, you and Damian's relationship, it's very volatile. It's very clear that you guys are not in a good place. And it just seemed like the point Kelly was really trying to make was that she was better for Damian than Elodie, right? Now, back to LiveJournal, which I can't wait for everyone to post in the Facebook group who LiveJournal, because I have a feeling a lot of us did. I didn't LiveJournal, but I certainly had other ways that I displayed my emotions. And the thing is that in one of Kelly's LiveJournal entries, Elodie commented on it. And she was pushing for Kelly to be honest, to tell the truth about what was going on between her and Damian. So 10 days before her disappearance, Kelly tells Elodie that she and Damian had basically been dating since April. Elodie's response, end it or something bad will happen.
Yikes. So now it's October 16th, 2003, and we see police video of them bringing Elodie in for questioning about all this online bullying and harassment.
Why we're talking today?
Basically, Kelly went missing and she turned up dead.
Who's having problems with her?
At the time, me and her were really getting along, and I obviously didn't like her.
Now, I just want to say, for those of you not watching on YouTube, and for those of you who are, hi, you can really see Elodie's physical reaction to answering these questions.
Yeah.
This girl is terrified. Her shoulders might as well be in her cranium.
Yep.
They are so high. She's hunched over. I am no body language expert, but you can just tell she is absolutely consumed with fear. But she goes on.
But for, stupid girl reasons, I didn't like her.
Did you ever think seriously about doing something like that?
So then she finishes by saying,
I said something to her one time because she was being really excessive over Damian. I was like, you really just need to back off. Like, yeah, because I will fight you or something stupid.
This is a classic case of your words coming back to haunt you.
exactly. And then finally they were like, okay, so did you threaten her in any way? Of course they know the answer, right?
Right.
And Elodie says this.
September 2nd, during an online conversation.
Yeah, I remember what I said.
What did you say?
I said, stay away from Damian before something bad happens to you.
Yeah, baby, that's a threat.
Yep.
That is a threat. But she says she has an alibi. She says she was with her mom.
Yeah. And she says, I did call Damian that night. He said he was with Kinsey. And then 20 minutes later, my entire family was home. So they had to rule Elodie out as a suspect. She was absolutely with her family that night. So now back to Kinsey Nordman. She has a cousin named Scott Simonson, who was also very active in the search for Kelly's killer. He wanted to help, and eventually the police interviewed him. Now, they don't go on to say much about what Scott and Kelly's relationship was, but I would imagine that he was an extension of the friend group, and he must have really cared about Kelly. So when the police asked Scott whether or not anyone in the friend group owned a gun, Scott mentioned that he had seen a small caliber gun in Damian Guerrero's car in the glove box. Now, based on that .25 caliber casing they found at the crime scene, that is a huge red flag, and they have to consider that. So they bring Damian in once again for questioning. Investigators ask about the gun. He says, "Oh, I don't own a gun. What are you talking about?" Scott is on drugs. Scott is not well. He's saying things. Have you ever heard Scott rap? He sounds like one of those screaming gopes. It's like, it's like on black tar heroin. It's, okay, look, if I'm being honest, my brother did give me a .25 caliber gun. I just remembered, but I don't really like guns. They freak me out. So I know I could have sold it and got money for it, but instead of doing that, I just threw it into a storm drain. Is that enough? Can I go?
Yeah. Then the cops are like, oh, cool, a storm drain. Just like incidentally, this is a small town. What storm drain was it?
Oh, it was on the corner of Street and Boulevard.
Oh, Street and Boulevard? And they're like, let's go, Carl. And they dig and bulldoze the shit out of that storm drain. He did not think they were going to call his fucking bluff, and they sure did. They dug it up, and they were like, okay, cool, Damian. We're at the corner of Street and Boulevard where you said this fucking gun was. We just bulldozed this here concrete. No fucking gun, my man. And he's like, yeah, I did not get that far. I didn't think. The amount of resources, I'm not kidding, like to get a city, to get like permits and shit, to dig up the concrete and the strain dorm they did. Strain dorm? Storm drain.
Do you know that I didn't even clock it until you said it?
But because I said it emphatically with emotion. If you say anything with emotion, they'll believe you. Just look at Trump.
Yeah,
anyway.
But yeah, like the police were not going to stop. And I think Damian really fully understood that.
Could you imagine them coming back and him being like, oh, you dug it up. Okay, I didn't know you were going to
I didn't know you were going to do that.
Okay.
Damian maintains he didn't have anything to do with Kelly's murder. And on the night she disappeared, he was with Kinsey. And they have the receipts to prove it.
And the police are like, we totally believe you. By the way, we have a search warrant and we will be tearing your house apart. RIP your Tamagotchis. So guess what they find in a jewelry box? A .25 caliber bullet. Immediately they send it to ballistics. And it is an exact match for the shell casing they found at the crime scene.
So now it's November 4th, and they go back to Kinsey, and they were like, so we know that you and Damian said you were out having a silly goose time with, eating food and seeing a movie because you produced those weird receipts that we didn't even ask for. So weird number one. But we know that Damian has a gun exactly like the gun that was used to kill Kelly, and we're going to give you the opportunity to tell us about that. And Kinsey's like, well, where's this information coming from? I want to be like, bitch, we're asking the questions here. I could not believe it. Where are you getting this information
It's so
from?
stupid. You may as well have been like, so what all do you know? And I'll tell you, I'll just repeat what you know, but I won't be giving you any additional information. Like, are you an idiot?
This girl's 19 years old. She has balls the size of freaking Nebraska. So basically, they were like, we got the serial number, we got the gun, we got the bullets, so just tell us the rest.
You didn't pull the trigger, did you? Damian pulled the trigger. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know.
This is the time for you to think about Kinsey. This is the time for you not to protect Damian. We need you to start telling us the truth about this.
And she cracks.
She sure does. She tells the investigators that she watched Damian shoot Kelly, but it was an accident.
It was a joke.
It was a practical joke gone wrong. They just wanted to scare her. They wanted to see the look on her face because it was funny to frighten Kelly, but we didn't mean to kill her.
Right. We've all seen Heathers, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Also, do you know how hard it is to accidentally shoot a gun?
What is that called when the amount of pressure it takes to actually pull the trigger? Yeah.
I don't know.
I learned it in law school, but it's so much information up here. I can't remember. But exactly, when someone says they accidentally pulled the trigger, how does that work?
It doesn't work. I mean, that's the thing. Like, listen, my father, when he was 14, actually, I've never even thought about this. My father, when he was 14, his friend was playing with a BB gun and it went off, shot my dad in the eye, and they said if it would have been a centimeter to the right, it would have killed him.
But what does that mean it went off? Like he dropped it and it went off?
No,
or
he was playing with it, so he must have pulled the trigger hard. My mother's brother was a cop, and his partner was in the police station cleaning his gun, and it went off and shot my uncle in the head and killed him instantly. But again, like those things, I don't even know. I don't know if he pulled the trigger thinking that the gun was not loaded. I have no idea. But the point being is that it is very, very difficult. Even if you drop a gun. Tell me if I'm wrong. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. How about we don't play with guns? Honestly, the only thing my parents did correctly, we were never allowed guns. We never had water guns. We never had fake guns. We never played cops and robbers. That was the only thing my parents did right, was we Guns aren't toys. We weren't taught that guns are toys. Guns are for real.
Yeah.
So how about we just don't play with guns and they won't accidentally go off?
Well, we had shotguns in the house, but they were stored, and my father put the literal fear of God in me, all of us, to understand in the same way that these are not toys.
Right, exactly. That is fine. There are people who grow up with guns in the house, and that is fine. But I'm saying, yes, exactly, making the gun, the ha-ha, let's chase each other with guns. No, you respect guns.
Yeah.
Guns aren't toys.
There was never any intent to kill her. And unfortunately, according to Kinsey, the gun held by Damian accidentally discharged.
Now, they have the means to arrest Kinsey in that moment, but police decide not to because they want to trap her. And when I tell you, this idiot, they got her hook, line, and sinker.
Well, remember the cop that we loved from last week, Detective Penis Man, he did the same thing. He was playing chess, not checkers.
Exactly.
So clearly, when you're working with young people, you really have to consider, is the possible information you can get more valuable than the immediate arrest? So this is pretty brilliant as well.
Yeah, well, they're hoping she will go home and make some incriminating phone calls, and she does.
Yep.
The very next morning, she calls her boyfriend and admits to him that both she and Damian murdered Kelly. Well, her boyfriend goes straight to the police, and he's like, hi, my girlfriend is a murderous cunt, and I would like to turn her in.
That boyfriend is the down bitch of the episode, okay? He's like, oh, really? You don't say. Murder goes straight there. And basically is like, hey, my girlfriend also shot Kelly. It wasn't just Damian. Down bitch award, straight to that unnamed boyfriend.
It's also so scary to think about two 18, 19-year-olds being capable of doing something like this. I mean, and really plotting it out. It wasn't just Damian. Kinsey was an active participant. So the police intercept Kinsey as her parents are driving her to meet a lawyer, and she's arrested. And shortly after her arrest, Damian is arrested for murder right outside of a movie theater.
So to really cement in their level of audacity, they plead not guilty. Really? Okay, they're set on $5 million bond. Now everyone is shocked. Because remember, Kinsey was playing camp counselor. Kinsey was playing cruise director for her fucking search party. She's being like, everyone stay hydrated. Here's the liquid IV. Let's go out and look for Kelly. She's like, I'm going to the Kinko's, making more flyers. She was cosplaying the head of this entire operation, playing the weepy friend at the funeral. She was a fucking joke.
What?
It's absolutely psychotic behavior.
It is psychotic. She's a psychopath. And Amanda, who, again, she's just going to give you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. She's like, I was hanging out somewhere, and then all of a sudden Scott, Kinsey's cousin, comes up to me and goes, did you hear the news? My fucking cousin is the one who killed Kelly. She was arrested. And Amanda was like, wait, what? So people are outraged. They're shocked. And the other thing that I keep thinking about, too, that really makes me so angry is that Kinsey was with Kelly's mother, Diana, helping her, consoling her, acting like I'm the best friend. I'm gonna take care of. What a fucking bitch.
Once Kinsey was arrested, she once again talked to the police. They concocted this plan about 2 weeks before, and then the evening before, they'd gone up and actually dug the little shallow grave in Ghost Town.
So finally, we hear what actually happened the night of Kelly's murder.
So Kinsey invited Kelly to go for like a creepy, kooky, crazy nighttime hike after Kelly got out of work. So they take Kelly's car to go to that ghost town area. You couldn't pay me to do such a thing. And she's like, oh, by the way, we're going to meet Damian. So now the three of them go out on this nighttime hike because remember, they had already dug this shallow grave for this hilarious practical joke that they're going to play. And we see in the police report that Kinsey said as soon as the gun went off, Damian yelled, oh my God, that was an accident. And so he did fire the gun, but that shot, remember when Joey was explaining that the first shot sort of like grazed her head? That wasn't the fatal shot. Yes, she was hurt, and Kinsey said she was sort of writhing in pain, but that's not what actually killed her.
That's right. Kinsey says, I wanted to end Kelly's suffering, so she fired the second shot, which killed her instantly. So Kinsey then drives Kelly's car to the mall parking lot and leaves it there. Damian meets her, they change clothes, and then they go to a restaurant and a movie so they have receipts for an alibi. And you know who believes them? Literally no one.
Well, because basically Kinsey was saying, well, I did this to put her out of her misery. You know what would have put her out of her misery? Getting her to a fucking hospital. Because that's not what killed her. She maybe could have survived. So I feel like the way to put her out of her misery would have been to get her immediate medical attention. I don't know. I'm crazy. I have the wackiest ideas. Put her out of her misery. She's not a fucking raccoon that you just ran over on the street. She's a human fucking being. She's your friend. When she said put her out of her misery, I wanted to fly through the roof. How do you say that about a person?
Well, because you're not dealing with people who are in their right minds. These are people who are sick. That also made me so angry. Also, I wanted to end her suffering. How about you don't, if this was a practical joke, you know what's a practical joke? A whoopee cushion. Stick a whoopee cushion under her ass as she goes to sit down at Thanksgiving dinner. What the fuck is this? So this is when we find out that Kinsey and Damian were obsessed with the movie Natural Born Killers. It is an Oliver Stone movie. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, I'm going to let the show explain.
Natural Born Killers, they kind of go off on this killing spree, like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of couple. Then they run off into the sunset, basically.
So this was their favorite movie, and it was clear that Damian and Kinsey took inspiration from the film for this murder.
This is based on the Charlie Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugit case. Rabia and I covered it on Rabia and Ellen Solve the Case, and Carol Ann was actually innocent. It's a psychopath. Charlie was a psychopath.
Okay.
But in the movie, they depict them as sort of a Bonnie and Clyde type of thing.
Got it.
Go to Rabia and Ellen and listen to our episode on Charlie Starkweather. Anyway, it turns out that, like, Kinsey was not being funny. She was probably a sociopath, genuinely. She didn't have any care or concern for human beings at all. Basically, they look at one of her online journals and she said, I was in pain, I was suffering, I was depressed. Okay, call your fucking therapist. Don't kill your friend. I mean, I know that's a wild concept, but look into it? I don't know.
It wouldn't hurt. Well, in January of 2005, both Damian and Kinsey go to trial for first-degree murder. And the prosecutor believed that their motive for this murder was jealousy, that they wanted Kelly to stop messaging Damian, and this was the plan that they came up with. I think beyond that, it was evident that Kinsey really was obsessed with killing someone, and that she found a way to manipulate. I'm not saying that she convinced Damian to do this. I think that both Damian and Kelly had their own reasons for doing it. But the thing that they had in common was that they were probably obsessed with murder.
Yeah.
I think also Kinsey found a way to justify this in some kind of way because she was doing it for her hurting friend Elodie. I mean, she's really just a cold-blooded killer. Now, while in jail, Kinsey had a conversation with an inmate that was eventually used against her.
She was just bragging about how tough she is and her fascination with murder. Great. Be tough in jail and fucking make slippers out of maxi pads. You look super tough now.
Yeah.
Okay? I hope all your noodles come without a spice packet. Like, whatever. You're so hard and you're so tough.
Well, and then there's another case for your words coming back to haunt you. Because the last part of that journal entry that you mentioned where she talked about being depressed and, she said,
I am a very depressed person. I have no respect whatsoever for human life and believe I could be quite capable of taking someone's life.
What a fucking garbage human being. And when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, and thank you for putting it in writing. And also, why are you all making online journals? But so the jury came back with the guilty verdict of first-degree murder. And Kinsey was sentenced to 45 years to life in prison. Damian, on the other hand, his case was deadlocked.
Yeah.
And when they went back to trial in 2008, he decided to plead guilty. That worked very well in his favor because he was sentenced to 15 years in life. However, he has been up for parole 2 times since, and he has been denied both times, his last one being in 2018. I know that 2003 feels like just yesterday, but Kinsey Nordman is actually up for parole in 2027.
Yep.
Yikes.
And while in prison, Kinsey began reaching out to Kelly's friends and family as a way to look like, I'm a friend who's mourning too. I am innocent. Girl, nobody was buying it. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what she was up to, and they know that she is, in fact, a monster. I mean, this whole thing was just senseless and so cruel. To me, the fact that they could be so mean to her, it showed to me that they just saw her as disposable.
You know, the word bully is so powerful to me, and I do believe it is overused. I actually talked to Lola about this a couple weeks ago. There's a big difference between someone being mean, someone being rude, and someone being a bully.
Yeah.
I think we really need to be clear because I always tell Lola, like, how weak her generation is. I'm just like, shut up. If someone's mean to you, that's different. If someone is a bully to you, I feel like a lot of people will empathize with Kelly's story. I've never really heard you talking about being bullied except by your mom. Like, do you ever feel like you were really bullied in school?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my mom didn't realize she became a bully to me at times, you know. But no, when I was in elementary school and like junior high, maybe like freshman year as well, I was definitely bullied and I was small. But the thing about me is that I figured out how to outsmart my opponent. I figured out how to, it didn't mean that their words or those moments that were any less cutting, but I figured out how to outplay my opponent and I would turn the tables and humiliate them. And I mean, I would go for the jugular. And so people stopped fucking with me. But, you know, there was only so much I could do with some guy who was a lot bigger than me calling me a faggot. You know what I mean?
Right. This is bullying. They bullied this girl.
Yeah.
And they obviously took it too far. I just want it to be very clear because I do feel like a lot of words are overused. And it's just weird because I had this conversation with Lola. I was like, you know, kids can have mean behavior. And that's like because kids are all like messed up or they're getting shit at home or they're hormonal or they're jealous. Being rude is when this one girl told Lola, she's like, you don't need to practice your monologue, Lola, because you're not going to get in the school play anyway. That was fucking rude. We're talking about systematic and intentional, aggressive, repeated behavior. And it can involve like an imbalance of power. And that can be kids that are bigger than you, smarter than you, have more friends than you. It can also involve, obviously, teachers, adults, and stuff. And so I think this is, you know, this is not a case of overusing that word bully. That's why it's really dangerous to use. Like when someone's like, he's a gaslighter. I'm like, nah, he's just kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is serious. This is bullying that ended in a little girl losing her life.
Yeah.
I very, very much, we all get hurt a lot. My baby feelings get hurt all the time. I mean, yes and no. I'm like a wimp, but I'm also tough. I mean, you know, someone once called me a bitch and I called them an ambulance. But still, you know, you never know what you're going to get.
I think that there's a lot of terms that we throw around very loosely nowadays. And, you know, if you're making serious allegations, I think you have to look really at the specifics of something. But in this case, Kelly was absolutely bullied by these people.
So if you are, or someone you know is being bullied, and remember, bullying doesn't stop when you're a kid or a teenager. Bullying goes on, it can go on through all of life. And now we have fun shit like cyberbullying, right?
Yeah.
But you can always text 988 for any kind of help if you need it, because it can be really dark and it can be really daunting. And this shit is tragic.
It is.
This is a tragic story. Yeah. And I don't know, say something funny.
There are some things I like to arrive early.
Such as?
Christmas, my Amazon packages, Cleaning Lube, and Barbra Streisand's new album. What I don't want coming early is the AT&T man. At 8 a.m., your appointment is for noon. You cannot come here. We are not doing this. I don't like this. No one asked for this. I don't care if this is California or Utah. You show up at the time of the appointment. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. We have one more episode of Mean Girl Murders, one of the most highly requested shows we have had in a very long time. If there is a very specific episode you want us to skip to, because we're not going to get to all of them, shoot us a DM. And of course you can shoot us a DM because you already follow us on Instagram at IThinkNotPod. That way you can see our beautiful faces. And if you want to see more of our beautiful faces,
hop on over to YouTube. You can find our channel there at I Think Not Pod. Please subscribe, like, and comment. It really, really does help us a lot. And we would love to see you there. We're doing some foolishness there. Also, just a reminder, for as little as $5 a month, you can get some bonus material from me and this goofball over at patreon.com/IThinkNot.
we got movies, we got paint parties, we got merch boxes. Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think there's another podcast that does as much bonuses for their community, but I'm also going to say I don't think other podcasts have such a good community as us, so there you go there.
We really do love it. So come join us for movie night or come do a Zoom hang with us. We would love to see you there.
Until next time, I love you, Joey.
I love you too, Yellow Martian. I love all you DBs. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Love you, down bitches. Bye.
I'm a goth girl.